Welcome back. So this video is a bit different, but not really, because it's still reflective. But today I actually wanted to talk about truth, but mainly on the aspect of searching for truth. You see, most people just take in whatever they get and then they use that as their truth. But is that your truth or is it the real truth? I mean, I like to say that you don't really know history until you live it yourself, because the victor of any battle is the one who decides what the history is going to be. I mean, the true history could have sided with the loser, but since the victor wanted a different history, they changed it because that's just the way they wanted their history, the new history, to be. Now, I'm not saying to discredit any information, especially the Bible, because it is the word of God. But not all the information that you absorb in is accurate and should be taken as your truth. For example, Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 says, "My people will be destroyed from lack of knowledge." Because every single person, if we're talking about logistical standpoints, doesn't know anything. Now, what do I mean by that? You're probably saying, "Oh no, I know everything. I'm really smart. I get all A's in school. What's MX plus B or whatever?" Like, that's just knowledge that people have gave you. That's not knowledge that you truly know. Right? Now, what do I mean by this? Let's go on history, for example. Some people like to say his story instead, because the true part of history just goes off based off the books that were written. See, those books are his story, the author's story. You don't know if that's the full truth, right? You don't know. Now let me go into the aspect of the information that you absorb for first on. Let's say you're in history class and you learn about an event that happened 300 years ago, and then you meet someone else, but they have a different truth of what happened back then. You will never truly know what really happened back then. So how can you really know what really happened? You feel me? One thing that I've been pondering on for the past few days is God and Lord is not the real God's name. Okay, I just wanted to say that full straight off, because God and Lord are titles. They are not his name. Now, I did some research, okay, and I found different names such as Yahweh. I found Jehovah. I found Yahuwah. I found many names for God. Now, I can't tell which one is which, because every single article that I read, video that I watched, had a different argument for each one that made sense at the moment, until I watched the next that was debunking the next name. And I was thinking to myself, if there's all these different names, how am I truly supposed to know the Most High's real name? I mean, I even stumbled onto a video that was speaking about the Bible being translated, which is true because it wasn't originally written in English. But while they translate it, he told me that when they translate the Bible, they actually remove certain books. Maybe they change certain words. And obviously, I can't read the other language, but I personally think that that knowledge would have been important to the true story of what the Bible was meant to do, right? There's a reason why it wasn't written in English in the first place, because the Most High probably had a message to write in there. Now, if it's been translated, changed, don't you see what that can do to, like, his word? It can change it up. It can completely change it. Just like, for example, stories. Over time, someone can tell a story, and once it goes and goes on through time, it changes. It's like the little game telephone. You start off with a word, and then you go through a circle, and then you ask the last person at the end of the circle what the word is, and it's most likely than not 99% different. Now, what if you're translating the Bible? How would that not be different from the Bible, right? The Most High had all these different people write all these different scriptures into one giant special book, but then it's translated into different languages over and over again and retold. What's to say that the stuff that are written in the current Bible of this current time, which, by the way, has the Vatican go through it to suggest which chapters can be retold and be open to the public, what's to say that the stuff that we're reading now is the real truth? Now, I'm not saying that the full Bible is wrong, right? There is many wisdom sayings in the Bible. For example, the book of Proverbs, okay? That's a very wisdom-filled book written by Samuel. But I'm just saying that who's to say that the information that we are absorbing is the right information? Like I said prior in the video, lack of knowledge is going to kill us, right? And the thing is people get that information from other people, and they don't question why this happened, what truly happened. They don't go out to try to search the information for themselves. And that is what I think that verse meant, that it's going to kill us, because we don't question why. For example, when I was little, I read about all these biblical characters, right? I even searched up God. I searched up angels. I searched up Jesus, by the way, which isn't even his name either. It's just translated. But I searched up all these different names. And when I looked on Google, they were all white. So I pondered, why are all the biblical characters white, including God? If Adam and Eve were white, if God is white, if Jesus is white, why do black people exist? Now, I'm not trying to bring race into this or anything like that, but it's a good question, right? But most people don't question it. See, I go to theology class, right? I never question these answers, but every time they pull up an image, it's all black. It's all white, okay? But in my head, I'm pondering, I'm like, if God created Adam and Eve as the first ever humans, as the current Bible says, and all these different biblical characters are white, if his son is white and he is white, why do black people exist? Where did they come from? And why is everything that is black associated with bad? You know, angels are white. A good cupcake is vanilla, it's white. But a bad cupcake, the ones that are written with demons, are usually red and black. That's just the question that I've been asking myself. And I strongly believe that what we've been reading is not the total truth. It has some of the truth in it, simmered in it, but we are being lied to. We have not seen the total truth of what this world really has to come. Because I truly believe that there is more to this world that we are not being told about. Now, going back to Jesus, about his name, it's also been multiply translated. I've searched up many names for Jesus. Some different people call him Yesu. Some people call him Jesus, like the normal one. Some people call him Yahusha or Yahshua. Now, all these different names, you can't really pick because there's a different argument. Some people just say, oh, it's just translated into different languages. Now, why would you want your own name translated? Isn't that breaking the first commandment of taking God's name in vain? Because God has one name, the rest are just titles or just translations. You're changing God's name. That's the definition of taking his name in vain, right? Because you're not using his first name. You're making his name forgotten, thus removing the importance to his name. By making his name forgotten, you are basically taking his name in vain, which is the first commandment, okay? Actually, no, second commandment. My fault. Yeah, it's the second commandment. The first commandment is don't bring any gods before me. But yeah, it's the second commandment, okay? And I'll go into that like real quick. I'm gonna touch on it a little bit, but I also did some research on the book of Enoch. I get different information being thrown at me. Some people say, oh, the book of Enoch contains important information in which was removed because they don't want us to know the truth. Well, another people tell me that the book of Enoch was actually inaccurate. Okay, there's so many sides in a world that it all makes no sense. Even going down to the basis of religion, right? let's say there's only one religion, because some people believe that religion is just a different translation of Christianity of in words, basically, which isn't true. Each religion is different. For example, Jews don't believe in that Jesus was the Lord Messiah, okay, but Islam believes in Allah and all these different things, right? So let's say that there's only one religion, and let's say Christianity is that one religion. What happens to all the people who had deep faith and belief in all the other quote unquote gods that they had? What about the Jews that did believe in God but didn't believe in Jesus? Do they all just perish? See, that's where it goes to the point where I don't believe many people are going to make it to heaven. I don't believe that I may make it, even though I try to be holy or as much as possible in a world full of sin, in a world full of lies, and where you can't even find, like I told you in that Bible verse, it said lack of knowledge will kill us. In a world full of lies where you can't even decide in which the truth is, because if the truth was presented to us, we would all be under the true religion, the true God, we would know the true God's name. We would know everything. Yet, if you search up how much human history we've lost, it would say about 99% of human history we have lost through time. 99. Now, is that true? I don't know. I'm not the higher ups. They know, but they don't tell us. Now, I just leave it off to where you need to search the truth for yourself and stay with that truth, because it says that you need to search for your own truth, because you can't go off what other people tell you. If your parents say this is the best for you, search for your own truth. What is best for yourself? Because you know yourself more than any other person to ever exist. God and you are the only people who know yourself. Matter of fact, God knows you better than anybody. He knows you better than anybody because he knew what you were going to be before you were born. And he knows what you're going to become before it even happens. He sees the past and future and the present all at once. That's why what's it called? In the book of Exodus, where Moses is trying to convince the Pharaoh to release the Israelites, God says the Pharaoh is going to harden his heart. Now that verse is very easy to take out of context. Some people think that God actually hardened his heart, but God was actually speaking in the context of seeing him hardening his heart right in front of him in the future, right before it happened. That's why he said, go do this, but the Pharaoh is going to harden his heart. People think, oh, so he made the Pharaoh harden his heart. No, everybody has free will, but he just told him that he wasn't going to listen from that. That's why God created all these different things. But who's to know if that story is even true, right? Because we don't know what the true Bible said. The first Bible, not these mass-produced ones that are translated. Like, for example, I have 2 Bibles in my backpack. Okay, I have, I forgot the exact brands, but when I read the 2 different Bibles, the texts are very similar, but the words are changed in different ways, even though they're both English. Different manufacturers, they say the same thing, but in different ways. That's now. So just imagine a Bible from 300, 400, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Just imagine what information it had in there that we don't have right now. That's why it's very hard to be a Christian, because I also saw this one video of a pastor who died and said he went to heaven. And when he spoke with God, he said, I never knew you. You were praising a false God. Now, you may think, what do you mean? The word God is not God's real name. It isn't. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe that's what God meant. You never know. You only go off your truth. And the thing about this world is you find your own truth and you stick with your own truth, because you can't go off what other people have to give you. Now, if it's going off common knowledge, obviously, like what's the weather today, that's obvious knowledge. You can go outside and check it. But when it goes on to things that happened in the past, Those are the type of things of where you don't know because you never existed in that time. You only go off what they give you. Now, who's to say that they're not lying to us about something? Who's to say? I'll leave it there. But truth, seek the truth. Because without truth, you know nothing. Right now, you know nothing because you're only going off based what they have told you. That information may either be true or false. You'd never know because you're only going off based what they have told you. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you need more reflective content, and stay reflective.